He said he's ready.
He's ready.
Yeah, well, he had to reconfigure everything in Linux.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we are. Dun, dun, dun. Hello! Greetings, everyone. Welcome to East of Anime, the podcast. Right over here on my right is Helen 3D. She's one of your hosts. Just below us is Bad Strategy. He's one of your other hosts, and I'm the Big Bad Moon. I'm your other host. Hey, how you doing? How you doing today, Helen?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am absolutely fabulous. And I'm going to make sure that the sound is working appropriately.
Okay. I think it looks really nice. I really like it.
Twitch still says ReZero season.
Switch what?
Twitch still says ReZero season.
Yes, it does.
Because Twitch still says ReZero season 2 on the bottom.
I got you. I got it. I'm going to fix it. I don't know if they changed. I think they changed the interface. I couldn't find it. We're episode 45.
ReZero's so good.
Yeah, it really is. That's a great show.
I'm sad we're mid-season.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm glad they're doing a long season. But gosh, it hurts. It hurts to be like, we're only halfway through.
Yeah. I hate that. You know, we've been watching Infinity Train, too. It's a Cartoon Network show. You should check it out.
Infinity Train.
It's...
Oh, I've heard
It's really... I don't want to give away too much, but I would watch it.
Okay.
All right, I think it's kind of working.
But I would watch it.
Does my voice sound weird on the stream? That's my question. Does it sound weird on the stream? Do I sound like a robot?
Give me a sec. I'm gonna.
If anybody's curious, I just switched entirely over to Linux, and I am making sure that everything works.
I felt like you sounded really solid.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure.
It didn't sound bad on the stream.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think it's good. It's probably fine. It's probably not an issue. How you doing today, Bad Strategy?
I am good. I think there's too much blue. I think we need to lower the saturation.
There's a little bit too much, but I think maybe with the names, you could probably play with that.
Yeah, I was going to, and I was going to change around because when we got the logo, it was a little bit oddly, it's a little bit dark. I tinkered around with it a bit. I'll probably tinker around with it some more.
I think you're doing good. So whatever you want to tinker around with, I think you got it.
I have a little intro card too. Here, check it out. That's it. That's all it is. It's not fancy.
No, but that's sleek. I like it. We're coming along. You're coming along. Thank you.
I had all the other old intro cards and outro card and all this stuff, but then when I switched to Linux, I lost all of my data because I'm a not good planner sometimes. But anyways,
I'm not either. So.
Anime.
We watched an anime. I don't know if anybody else here did. It was Michiko and Hatchin. Michiko and Hatchin. Yes.
I know. I do the same thing when I decide. I was like, did I say that right? But I like have the poster, so okay, we're cool.
I just had to type it in. I think I typed it in correctly. Anyways, yes, Michiko and Hatchin. Interesting show. We'll just start with this. Helen, what do you think?
I thought it was really cool. It reminded me a lot of Cowboy and Bebop. Like I got tons of those vibes. I felt like it kind of put in the spotlight abuse in different ways, and I thought that was interesting the way they did that.
Yeah, no, that is. I think that's very true. I think almost every character in this show is really abusive.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody. This is a sad place to live.
Also, no one pays for anything.
And nobody pays for anything.
Yeah.
Employees don't get paid, and customers don't pay, and it's just a land of...
Poor.
What did you say, love?
They're poor.
They're poor. Everyone's poor.
Because nobody pays anybody.
That's good, yeah.
If they let commerce happen, it would work. But it doesn't.
It's definitely a different approach from the bebop approach, because the bebop approach is they're poor and trying to make ends meet. And this one's very Michiko and Hatchin is very focused on just like we don't pay for anything. Just like it's kind of like it's like everyone is cheated by everyone else.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So, bad. What do you think?
I quite like the aesthetic. I think the aesthetic is what the kind of old-timey setting combined with the art style,
like 80s.
Yeah, not hugely old-timey, but like a little bit is what makes it feel bebop-y. I like how run down things are.
That's true, and I think they do intentionally make some musical choices that are kind of inspired by bebop. Maybe not inspired by bebop, because they just kind of have some jazzy stuff going on.
And Michiko's bike is also something that is either a retro bike or a sci-fi bike.
I totally agree. I think her bike is they're super trying to go for like a semi-sci-fi thing, unless there was an actual like little moped thing like that, in which case I wish I had one, because they're super like sci-fi looking, and that's awesome. But I was gonna say, though, I think it's actually maybe it's unfair to like the genre of jazzy music to just say that, oh yeah, that's like Cowboy Bebop. It can be jazzy by itself. It doesn't have to be Cowboy Bebop.
Right.
But obviously, it reminds us of that. But it's interesting. I thought it was interesting. I like the jazziness. I think that the jazziness was the thing that the jazziness was the thing that's where the similarity to Cowboy Bebop really ended. Was like it had some jazzy music. Maybe some of the scene beats were a little bit bebop-y, but generally speaking, it was not. Well, I'm not going to compare it to Cowboy Bebop. That's unfair.
That's fair.
Compare it to a giant. I was really bored the whole time, if I'm being honest, though.
Really?
Yeah, I was really bored. Nothing happened.
See, I thought you were gonna. So that's so funny. I like try to predict what you're gonna say.
I try to predict that, and then I do the opposite.
Yep.
No.
Well, I get where you were bored. It was very slow moving, and so it wasn't a very expansive universe. It was all kind of around the same area.
Ooh, okay.
And go ahead. Yeah.
No, so just before we get into that, let's just talk about exactly what Michiko and Hatchin is. So, Michiko and Hatchin, the story is this: we have the young girl Hatchin, and I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. Hatchin, who starts off living as a foster kid in this family that is like horrifically abusive in a very like Cinderella kind of way. She is. They're the bad guys. And the first episode, or is it 2 episodes, is her at this foster house, and this other character. Or go ahead.
I'm not sure if it's how many episodes it was.
Anyways, this other character, Michiko, who breaks out of prison. She is this, and I think maybe also this is one of those things that people draw a connection between Michiko and Faye from Cowboy Bebop, because she's like a kind of a Faye is like a she is a criminal. She's
I love
a beast.
her.
She's a criminal. She's a very sassy lady. She is a competent criminal. And I think that's something they're trying to do with Michiko. Although I think a lot of the time Michiko comes off as just being kind of like haphazard and just being kind of a bitch. not paying people for services and stealing shit. And it's but there's a definite like character, like a thematic connection. So Michiko has escaped from prison, and we don't know this for I think a few episodes, but she is going to go and get Hatchin from this foster family, and her goal, I believe, is to take Hatchin to her actual father, who a lot of people think died like 10 years ago. So she rides her crazy sci-fi moped over to the house, grabs Hatchin, who is a little bit resistant, but ultimately is better to go with Michiko than stay with her horrible, like, bad guy foster family. It lays it on pretty thick how bad they are, which is why I call them that. They're just like literally like, do the dishes, Cinderella, and they beat her, and then
they almost fry her on the iron. Yeah.
And
I actually think this is the worst first episode of anime I've seen in a while, because they focus so heavily on just like, look how wrong she is, look how evil these people are. It's like,
yeah,
because if you lay on how evil the villain is too much,
their mustache twirling,
Yeah, it makes
not interesting.
Me upset with the writer rather than the villain, because I'm like, you're just like,
I mean,
in the face.
Right.
For me, I didn't feel that way, but I felt like I wanted to see him get shot or killed or something.
Well, yeah, I mean,
would have been satisfying.
Sure. Yeah, that's the point, right? It's like it's kind of like a cheap writing trick to be like, let me make someone that the audience hates, so that they will be satisfied when I kill off the character later, or when the character gets their comeuppance somehow.
So, and this was the thing.
I think the issue is that it's diverging from writing a character to be a good character in order to writing a character to upset the audience, which is
which is totally different. And I agree. I don't like smackting. That's what we call it.
Smackting. Oh yeah, no, totally.
Smackting.
Well, and this character is literally he is evil to a degree that is
stereotype.
Absolutely ridiculous. Like when he realizes that she's, everything, she's not going to come back and he's going to lose. The Hatchin is going to leave, and when she's going to escape with Michiko, he goes, if I kill her, then maybe I'll get the insurance money. It's like, wow, you're just like a bad guy. Like you're going to put active effort into this. Anyways. So, they escape that. Michiko and Hatchin drive off, and the rest of the story is loosely based around the quest of Michiko getting Hatchin to her real father. That doesn't play a very major role in the actual show. There are a couple of episodes that touch on it. For the most part, it's a matter of the characters find themselves in each episode in some situation with some other characters. Sometimes it is more cohesive, sometimes they're a little bit meandery, but generally speaking, they stumble into some situation where some people are having a issue, and they end up getting involved in that. So Cowboy Bebop has a very similar structure for how the episodes are. It's every episode of Cowboy Bebop is the crew of the Bebop gets involved in a dispute between two other parties, and chaos ensues. So this kind of follows that same line of conflict. Is every episode Michiko and Hatchin get involved in some dispute. Sometimes it is with them. Sometimes it's between other people. It's not as cohesive in its narrative as Cowboy Bebop, obviously. And again, I won't compare it too much to Cowboy Bebop, but it did seem an obvious choice.
I kind of think the aesthetic style, it just makes you want to compare the two, but I don't think they're similar enough that it's really fair. And also, it's
the style's a little bit similar, and they do some similar stuff with music. Outside of that, though. But anyway, so that's kind of the general plot of Michiko and Hatchin.
Okay.
So that being said, and I don't know if you remember what you were going to talk about, Helen, but before we went through the whole plot, with the general plot, do you have any thoughts on it as a show, as a narrative? What do you think of your favorite bits about it?
The first arc I felt was a little slow.
Yeah, that's fair.
I liked the second arc a lot more.
It's 'cause
I think that was my favorite arc because I felt like that had the most going on for the show.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, the first part of the show did not have very much going on at all, and then, in fact, I think what was one of the episodes? One of the episodes was. Oh my gosh, it was an episode in which there were a whole bunch of flashbacks. Actually, I think that did have to do with certain major plot points, but there were a bunch of flashbacks, and I actually didn't know what was going on the entire episode, because they were you were flashing forward and backward to the present and to the past of different characters. There were 3 or 4 different timelines in this episode, and the Hatchin was one of the. You'd flash to Hatchin and you'd see her doing stuff, and then you'd flash to her father when he was a child and see him doing stuff. But they look really similar, and I get that they're supposed to.
They looked almost identical. I kind of got lost with that a little bit.
There were a couple. Yeah, there were a couple scenes where they were this character run into some other kid, and I'd be like, "How the hell did Hatchin get here? I thought she was over in the town. Maybe I missed something." But that was a very confusing episode for me. Bad, what are your favorite parts of that?
Favorite parts? Honestly, I'm gonna stick with the aesthetic in the style. I think it's very cool. It has that bebop-like feel that I really enjoy.
Yeah, no, totally. It did. It could have done well as a sci-fi one.
I was interested in the what was going on with Hatchin and the Chinese chef guy.
Yeah.
So I feel like they cut that off and didn't take it anywhere.
I agree with that.
Because it felt like that was supposed to be a lesson about Hatchin was supposed to learn something from that and to develop as a character and maybe grow closer to this Chinese chef guy who seems a bit like an asshole. He's I'm not gonna pay you for today or tomorrow. You have to work for free. But maybe he'd be kind of a nicer guy and he'd warm up, and they just ended it. And I liked that, though it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I wish we got a little bit more out of that.
Because I feel like they had so much room to grow with that, and it did feel a little jarring. It felt cut short.
Yeah. Well, and the direction that I was going to go. So this is, and I think Bad probably remembers this. At the beginning of the show, the prediction I made was that the way that the show is going to go is that over the course of all the trials that they go through to the very end, Michiko was going to see the error of her ways, and I made this a couple of episodes in because we can kind of see who the characters were then. Michiko is going to see that she is, maybe not a good person, and that she steals too much, and she's dishonest, and she is just kind of generally a bad person, and she was going to become kind of a little bit of a better person. She was still not going to be a great person, but she would maybe pay for stuff and, I don't know, tip, and not violently attack people for very little reason, and that Hatchin was going to adjust more to the world and not let stuff bother her and become a little bit more of an adult, and forgive Michiko for her kind of problems, and that totally didn't happen.
No.
Michiko Hatchin did end up kind of forgiving Michiko for her failings, but only insofar as that I think at the end of this show, Hatchin isn't a very good person either. It seems like she is exactly like Michiko was at the beginning of the series, and that was the thing that was probably the thing I didn't like the most, was that Michiko and Hatchin at the end of the story are both like horrible people. That I guess, well, you don't know because we only get a short scene with them afterwards, but it seems like Michiko did not change at all, and Hatchin seems to have become very similar to Michiko. And it was just like, oh, okay, so they're all just, I guess they're going to go cause more chaos.
Right.
That's fair, except this time Hatchin isn't the force of trying to balance Michiko out by being like, you stole these shoes. Why didn't you pay for them?
See, and that moral ground, I thought they were going to go somewhere with it, and it didn't seem to go anywhere. It was like, okay, but then she meets this friend who's like, hey, we can get stuff for free. I asked this guy, and he said he'd pay for it.
Right.
Oh, that was the worst. That hurt me so much inside. Right. That, like, and they're just like, oh.
Right.
Oh, it hurts.
Well, my husband was like, if somebody asked me and I had the money, I totally would, though. So I'm like, okay, I get that, I guess. Yeah. He is that kind of person, but I'm like...
Right. No, and it's one of those things where, I don't know, there's a constant theme of taking things that don't belong to you. Like, there's a constant theme of...
It's also with the character who was the stripper. Is it? Is her
I don't remember her name.
She died horribly.
Pepalima?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When she went to Dine and Dash.
Right.
They kind of made her skipping out on the bill look cool.
Right.
Yeah, they did.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
And ultimately,
she was like a dancer.
Ultimately,
but I kind of get that.
This was the thing that I was frustrated with several times, is the characters doing violent or immoral things and it being made out to be like, oh, look how cool they are. It's like, I guess that's fine.
Honestly, I think
it's
that's
kind of crappy though.
That's my greatest criticism of the show. Is I think that the messaging is really like kind of cruel.
Yeah.
Like it's because
so,
I don't know.
I would agree with that.
Does Hatchin ever actually get paid for anything she does prior to like the last episode when it's assumed she's getting paid?
I don't think so.
Because it feels like the writer views the world as you cannot. There's like it feels like the writer thinks that nothing in the world is fair.
Right.
Like you cannot work and get paid because you will be cheated by it. Like it's like the writer believes that all of
it's a very pessimistic.
Is a zero-sum game, is how I would put it.
So I would agree. I feel like the message seems very pessimistic. Like, believe in me. With the lady who's her orphanage mom,
who's selling
children, and like she's like nobody's like that good.
Yeah,
and abuse begets abuse. Like, I was abusive, and so now this person's abusive, and it's like, okay, but does anybody ever like get out of that? Does anybody ever heal? And the messaging is kind of like, no.
Yeah. The messaging is very much like, you cannot be above this. Everyone is like this.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what humans are.
And I think that was reinforced for me, by at the end of the show when Hatchin is like. It shows her and she's an adult, and it was 10 years later, and she is a single mom working at some diner. It's like that's awful. Like and then she has some monologue about the guy only lasted 3 months or something. This doesn't feel like a good ending.
No,
I think that
they're gonna go on the road though.
I think that made like she was gonna run away from her problems at the end.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to run away from your problems.
I think what made it really painful for me was they had a theme pretty continuously of the unfaithfulness of men. And the ending made it feel like they were being like, you don't need men.
Right.
You shouldn't have a father raise your children. You
yeah.
should be. And it's like,
you should run away from your problems and go on the road.
Don't demonize fathers and men and shit. I'm like, come on.
Right. It was poor. It was poor messaging.
It's not virtuous if you like can't maintain a relationship for more than 3 months.
Right. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Well, and like it was almost like it was a little mixed messaging, I feel too, with Michiko, because she was so in love with this other guy,
right?
But then like, and she has this moral qualm where she cheats on him, sort of.
Did they cheat? I don't really know. It seemed like they did.
So, yes.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yep.
That was a thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they didn't show anything explicitly, but it was definitely implied that it was like, okay, fine, I give up and give in to this. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah, but I guess to be fair, everybody in the universe was a horrible person. So hey, on the bright side, at least it wasn't at least they weren't so bad as what is the one with the reptile head guy?
Oh, Dorohedoro.
Dorohedoro. At least they were better people than Dorohedoro.
Yeah.
Well, no, the Dorohedoro people
there was
were
more
not
dynamic.
The Dorohedoro people were not immoral. They were amoral.
Yeah, that's true.
They were robots.
Yes.
That's true. They were robots. These people were just immoral.
Yes.
Which I would say is the lesser evil.
Entirely different. Okay, I have a question. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm holding.
Oh god, I forgot. Oh, never mind. Keep talking.
Pattern.
Well, now I
So
don't know what to say now.
So for me, like with Michiko and Hatchin, I felt like there were so many missed opportunities for like.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
On the topic of missed opportunities, something I thought that they were going to address at some point in the form of being character development for Hatchin. Did this happen in the latter half? I'm asking you, Helen. Hatchin starts off and she's got this adoption fantasy thing going on, right? Where
Right.
like,
she hopes somebody rescues her. Somebody's gonna get her.
Someone's gonna come along and they're gonna be like knight in shining armor.
That's what keeps her going.
Yeah. Away, and she's motivated by this like super childish like idea about the future. Do they address that? Do they because we watched till episode 12 and then we watched the last episode to see how it ended. So does that ever get addressed? Because I assumed at the beginning that what was going to happen was that they were going to address that. And it would be a growing point for Hatchin because she'd be like, oh my gosh, I realized that I've been really childish, and if I want things to be better, I should work for them, and I shouldn't rely on the random luck of some stranger to show up and save me. But they didn't address it in the first half. Did they address it in the second?
I don't feel like they addressed it as much. If they did, I didn't get that feeling. Cat, what are you doing?
Ah, that sounds about right.
The cat was in the background doing this on the.
So I would say, I mean, honestly, as per usual, the major issues with the show are that the character motivations are not the thing that drives the story. Because there's a lot of episode where there really isn't a story. They're just, passing through a city or something like that, and something happens to them. And ultimately, that's not super interesting.
That's kind of a message in and of itself. Life happens to you.
Right.
You don't happen to life. Like,
if you're going to be saved, it'll be because of random chance of a stranger happening to you.
Yes, exactly. So, it was a show. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to just give some, start doing final judgments on it in a minute. Is there a waifu in this show? I don't think at all. I don't think even remotely.
No, I don't think there's a waifu.
Actually,
I don't think there's a parent-fu.
The little motorbike.
There you
say
go.
is the waifu. Because that thing probably gets abused like mad and never changes the oil. Keeps on going.
Charo said, ooh, yeah.
The sci-fi motorbike.
I have a nominee. Least practical girl goes to all of the guns in the show.
Yeah, no, totally. Holy crap! Nobody.
Yes.
Guns are the most useless object in this entire world. You can actually you can guarantee that if there is a gun visible in a scene, nobody's going to get shot. But if there isn't a gun visible, they might get shot.
Oh, if the gun's not visible?
Yeah, if it's not visible, they might get shot.
Yeah,
but if you can see the gun, nobody's getting hurt that day. Yeah, I can't believe how completely.
Well, I mean, the one guy got shot in the leg.
Did he get shot? Did someone get shot?
He did.
Actually,
and they left him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we didn't see the gun there though. Yeah, that was
we didn't see the gun.
Exactly.
You're right.
You see.
Shot. It's not those guns.
So, yeah, I could most useless girl. All the guns in this show. As far as regular, yeah, no, that's fair. I think
for the aesthetic, I would totally leave this one on in the background.
That's fair.
Because I feel like you could
listen
and catch things that would be interesting. But I don't feel like you need to be on it.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. So we'll go bad strategy. Final thoughts on Michiko and Hatchin. Who would you recommend this show to?
People who like the aesthetic. Mm-hmm. I would put it as a side monitor anime. Yeah. I just honestly, the biggest issue I have is just I feel like the messaging is just out of whack.
Right.
The writer doesn't the writer's not a very well thought out person, or maybe
the writer took
a lot of
or maybe they're just really pessimistic about life.
I think the writer.
I would argue, based on the messaging, they're also a little bit nasty and cruel.
Just a little bit. I feel like they're a person who probably took all of the wrong messages out of life.
I wouldn't be friends with them.
So, based solely on this show. Yeah, so the messaging I think was not tremendous. It's not something that I would be, if I were making a show and it had this kind of messaging, I would not be comfortable putting it out there into the world, because I'd be like, God, this is really bad.
And if I were a parent, I would not let my children watch it.
Yeah, that's fair. Because you don't want to put that kind of messaging in their heads. Yeah. Look at these characters. Aren't they so cool? They steal shit and they beat up people, and they're very violent for no reason. They're abusive to their people that are close to them.
The entirety of the world is unfair, and the best you will see out of any character are characters who are they sell children, but they're actually kind of nice.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god.
So Helen.
Yeah.
Don't mean to rain on the parade there.
No.
I helped you too much. But you have any final thoughts?
I did, and then you said Helen that way, and my brain went bloop.
Got her.
I guess I felt like they were just missed opportunities. I feel like
I agree. I feel
like there were times where there would have been an easy way to make the messaging tweaked and mean something.
Right.
I feel like they started a bunch of threads of the story that felt like they were supposed to go somewhere, but then they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. The writer. What were you gonna say?
The writer knew they knew where to start in a bunch of places, but they didn't know how the story should end.
Right.
They didn't know how any of the threads that they were beginning were supposed to go.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And I felt like everybody was nobody wasn't working a side hustle. Everybody was hustling.
Yeah. Everyone.
And not in a good way. They all had their bad.
Yeah.
I love in Cowboy Bebop, and it didn't happen in this anime. I love in Cowboy Bebop though the constant sense of people struggling to get by with their mundane jobs, right. And they're
totally.
Not that is such a fun backdrop to a story.
Right, and that's just such a fun recurring human struggle they have all the time in Cowboy Bebop, is they're just hungry because they just haven't gotten any food.
Yeah, because it feels so grounded and down to earth, and
there are consequences. They're hungry,
right. Yeah. And then
there weren't a lot of consequences. I mean, the consequences were not they didn't match.
Yeah,
I feel like they didn't match.
I agree entirely with that. And it also felt weird because it kind of made Hatchin look like she was just a fool for being nice and for wanting to like pay for things, because it actually never helped her in the story, did it? Like, I
don't think it really did.
I guess
I don't
if
know
it were going,
I can't think of any moments.
Nope, not even once.
He goes, nope, not a one. That's what Churro said.
So it's like, yeah, so it's almost like it's saying like, don't do that because you're just, nothing will change. Nothing will change if you try to like do the right thing.
Well, there's get a lot from taking the moral high.
Do what, love?
You don't always get a lot from the moral high road.
He's like, you don't always get a lot.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the messaging is like, you get nothing. Well, and you do generally get something from being a nice person,
and
right?
This is the thing in Cowboy Bebop. Like, this is Spike's battle, and one of Spike's battles in Cowboy Bebop is being a good person and doing the right thing, or doing the thing that's obviously going to benefit him. And this is the same thing. Jet has this struggle too in Cowboy Bebop. That like there's a constant, or it's not constant, but it's a very, very common.
There's an ebb and flow to it.
Do we do that? Can I do this, or am I a good guy? And if he is a good guy, it doesn't always work out horribly, but sometimes it does. But they might get something out of it. And this is basically, no matter what Hatchin did that was good, she just kind of was losing the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and that's a really good character struggle. It's once again like the writer. I wouldn't be friends with him, and I wouldn't leave my wallet unguarded around him.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, and that's I think that was one of the major issues in the story. Is I felt like it could have been a really good dynamic to have Michiko be the wild person that's not really a good person, and Hatchin be like more of a moral compass, and at the end of the show Hatchin is a little more realistic and Michiko is a little less of a bad person, but it just kind of didn't happen. So any final thoughts?
Good budget, looked good aesthetically.
Good budget, good aesthetically, good music.
That was all solid.
Decent setting, decent setup. Is kind of interesting. I like
how rundown everything was.
I like how rundown everything was. Yeah, no, totally. I think it's a decent idea. Two people driving across. Where they were like Central or South America or something.
I think they're in South America. Yeah.
So Chile.
Chile. Sam says Chile.
Chile.
At the end.
Okay, so they were.
Most of it, I think, was South America, though.
So interesting setting, some interesting character relationships. Though I don't think the characters themselves were that interesting. But yeah, that's what I think of Michiko and Hatchin. Any other thoughts?
I have one more.
One more?
Yeah.
Right,
so the use of the artwork was really like spot on. I thought that was really cool, like the way that the shadows would hit their faces or hit parts of their body. I felt like that was telling a story, and I wanted to track that. Like I wanted to rewatch for that. I feel like whoever did the art, it was really well done. I thought there were really cool elements that were going on with that.
No, totally. And actually, I think that was the thing that I did mention a couple times when we were watching it was the animators are very decent animators. Whoever did the animation for it did a fine job. Good motion, good weight and balance. Especially there's a lot of running and stuff like that. So that was good. And a good color palette too.
Yeah.
But anyways, now let's discuss. We have about 20 minutes left. We don't have to go 20 minutes. But let's talk about what we're going to be watching next time. Do you remember? We talked about it.
Parasite.
Hey! We actually talked about it. Although we did exactly the same thing that we normally do, where someone says, what are we going to watch next? And then we go, oh, okay, that sounds good. Do it!
Imagine that you had an arm and a hand, except instead of being an arm and a hand, it was an alien.
Ah.
That's what we're watching.
Parasite.
Yes. Yes.
I haven't seen it.
That was a good. I like that, Noah.
It's kind of a Halloween
strategy. Sorry.
Halloween themed.
It's not your name.
Thing. Because the next podcast, by the way, is going to be on the 31st, which is Halloween. I don't know if anybody's going to actually watch it or if they're going to be trick-or-treating
doing stuff,
watching horror movies or doing whatever. Halloween is delightful. Best.
We're going to have a little mini party at home.
Exactly. But I was going to ask because we have a couple things coming up, but I don't know. I know there's a few things coming up in December. What is it? Made in Abyss is having a new season.
Made in Abyss in December. Yes.
I'm really excited about that because that's a great.
Me too.
Great show.
Oh, I'm excited because we're gonna get the boss fight.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to finish the manga before we actually watch that because I have all episodes of the manga. I just haven't read them yet.
Well, and like I think that's a hard thing too. Like when you read something.
Yeah.
Like. You have to be careful not to overjudge it.
Well, it's also strange because like I've been reading a lot of web novels and manga lately, and the web novels it's almost like they're intended to be turned into manga if they're successful, but
fair.
they're not written in the same format that you'd read manga in. They're written in such a way that you're going to lose a significant amount of information when you transfer them. Whereas transferring from a manga to an anime,
right.
you don't really have to lose that much because they translate really, really well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think comics translate the way they're paced, the visual nature of the medium. It translates really well into animation.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Web novels strangely aren't written in a way to translate well.
That's totally. I can see that.
They also tend to be more consistent because I think something's lost in the translation sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. You know, anytime you're translating text to picture, that is a big enough leap in media that you're going to lose stuff, or it's not going to be the same. Because ultimately, when you're writing something down, because it's a light novel, is what it is.
Light novel or web novel or anything else.
It's just literally a novel online, though. It's just like a
yes,
just text.
They do tend to be written where the dialogue is character name dialogue rather than being like he said this. It's just like the dialogue is often written in a screenplay like thing,
very strange.
which is part of the reason that I find it kind of weird that it's not all written to be converted easily.
Yeah, no, totally. That's fascinating. You know, I don't think I've ever read. I mean, I've read a lot of screenplays, but I've never read a web novel. That's fascinating. That seems like the kind of thing where maybe the person who started it kind of intended it to be animated, but then it just put it online for people to read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd previously, before I was reading web novels, I conceptualized it as people made manga, and then sometimes manga got turned into anime.
Right.
But now that I'm reading web novels, I realize a lot of the times people start with the web novel, and then if that does well, it goes to the manga, and if that does well, it goes to the anime.
Right.
Which makes sense. I mean, that's the lowest barrier to entry level for producing narratives. Is being like, I'm going to make a novel and put it online, chapter at a time.
Actually, no, that's totally like screenplay. Like, you want to know the story? Screenplay.
I don't know if you guys ever read. There was one similar to that back in I don't know if it was late 90s or early 2000s, but it was called Mega Tokyo, and that one was very similar. But that one was really solid. At least for my kid mind.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It can be hard to judge those things.
Right, I haven't reread it, so I'm like, I don't know how it is, but I liked it when I was a kid, and I wasn't really that into anime. I'd probably watched maybe 10 my whole life, and then I didn't get into it until I was like 15 or 16.
Solid.
Oh, I also finally watched a few episodes of what's the new one that's the Demon King?
Oh, the Demon Academy.
Yeah.
Yes. What did you think of that?
It's kind of funny. They play it very straight the entire time, because it feels halfway between a satire and the thing it's satiring, rather than.
It's a fun ride. I like it.
It's a fun ride. I can see why people like it.
Yeah.
I wish they would play it a little bit less straight, like they'd lean a little bit more towards the comedy.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's funny.
I like. I'm really glad to hear your opinion of that.
Our boy's 3 months old and he's got his first girlfriend.
That one kind of starts out similar to Michiko and Hatchin, and his parents are just shitty people.
Interesting.
Oh, think of it. No, his parents literally are selling him off to work, and he's working on this fish thing, like a fishing boat or something.
Okay.
Huh?
Are we talking about the same anime?
What? Oh, maybe we're talking about a different one.
Oh yeah, that happens to me all the time.
No, which one are you talking about? I was talking about the Demon Academy one.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the Demon King Reborn one.
Oh no, I don't know what that is.
No, you told me about this one. He's at a Demon Academy and he's the Demon King and he's reborn.
Okay, now we're on the same page. Yeah, I agree with you. I wish they would. It's a little too serious for what it is.
It feels halfway between being an actual satire and being the thing it's the satire of.
Yeah. I do wish they would lean into the comedy a little more.
We'll do a roundup of upcoming anime sometime.
It is so funny still though.
Anime.
Well,
what order are we in? Are we in fall?
There's too many demon animes.
There are a lot.
There are. Oh man, what were you saying though?
I was just saying, sometime we'll have to do a roundup of upcoming anime that we're going to be watching, because I think that'd be neat. I don't know.
I do.
Actually,
yeah.
We could do at the start of the season. We look at all the season's anime and we check their descriptions and their thumbnails and we talk about them, because we could straight up do that live.
Yeah, totally. Maybe have
it might be fun to decide which were the worst animes that we thought. Best.
Look back on our predictions.
Oh, that is the thing I would actually love to do, is talk about the best and worst anime that we've done. That'd be amazing. Because
there's some that we've been well.
This is episode 45. It's not too bad.
There are a lot of elements about Dorohedoro, but I totally think that it was. I'm with you for all the criticisms. Yeah, I agree.
We'll have to look at that. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Any final thoughts on anything for the podcast tonight?
Oh my gosh.
Colin? Nope.
I'm out.
Bad.
Guys, watch more anime. It's good.
That's boom. Done.
Sometimes.
It's always the message.
Watch more anime. You can join us next time. It's going to be the 31st, and we're going to be watching the anime Parasite, which looks a little bit science fiction-y. But we'll be talking about that on the 31st. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely rest of your October. See ya, everybody. Bye.
Bye.